forensic interview with her, forgot to turn on the tape. They didn't come back and redo the tape. They didn't properly transfer it. They had a daggum one of the witnesses was taped. So they had on tape one of the witnesses saying, yeah, she was molested, but they didn't use that tape. And so, again, lots of stuff that they buried. And at the end of the day, this is the same guy that we're talking about here, corresponding with the people he's supposed to be having a grand jury on. And they're saying, hey, don't ignore all this and let's go on. And again, his case has not been put before grand jury. So that's the kind of stuff we talked about, Bob. There's a case down in Ardmore where they found a listening device, and it was planted in the room that attorneys used to talk to their client. Illegal as heck, all illegal as heck. And guess what? They tried to bury it. They tried to cover it up. This attorney brings it out. Now, here's what's funny. Now this attorney has a case where an illegal got caught with $400,000. They didn't have anything to charge him with at the time. The illegal leaves, and they get a warrant for this illegal person. And so this illegal person gets him to represent him. And he's going through this person's daughter. Well, he can't get hold of the guy. And he's checking, and he finds out that there's somebody died where this guy lives, same name, same everything. So he calls down there, gets a death certificate, and starts trying to get this daughter the money. Well, come find out the guy wasn't dead. It was a different guy with same name, that I think their date of birth was 6 days apart or something. Anyways, now they put that person in a grand jury, the attorney, and they're trying to get him for fraud because he turned in this death certificate saying the guy's dead. Weakest case ever you want to hear about, but yet they're weaponizing. And Bob, here's the deal. This is where I'm at. Have you ever seen our court system weaponized like it has been weaponized? We just saw, I don't know if you've been watching, Bob. Did you see that where 40 Federal Bureau investigators were covering up things on Biden's and all of the problems that we've seen with Biden? Have you seen where 40 have been covering that up? Did you see that on the news?
Yeah, I didn't know it was 40, but I seen something about it on the news.
40 agents, Bob. You had 51 CIA or intelligence people sign and say that laptop was Russian information, disinformation, when we now know it wasn't Russian disinformation. You have the DOJ covering up, whether it be on Hillary, whether it be on Biden, whether it be on Obama. You have them covering up all of these things. You have the FBI covering up. And now we're seeing them go after Trump, whether it be in Colorado, to say, oh, he January 6th, which January 6th is a joke, Bob. I mean, how many insurrections happened where they tried to take the Capitol with not one firearm? To my knowledge, they didn't have any firearms. The people who got killed weren't the people in the Capitol building. It was people trying to get in the Capitol building, and they didn't have any firearms. So why are they killing them? So again, but they're trying to keep Trump off the ballot because of January 6th. They're trying to go after him over the election fraud because he said it's fraud, which it obviously is fraud. And now we're seeing him with the trials in New York City over his business. We're seeing him. They're trying all over to keep him off the ballot. They're going after him on every kind of case, on every kind of level. It's
well. Are you saying that what's going on here? It's a similar.
What I'm saying, Bob. Here's what I'm saying is that we are seeing our criminal justice system weaponized against people who will stand up, and I'm saying it's not just Donald J. Trump that has that happen to him. I'm saying when the woolies try to stand up, guess what? And here's what happened. We're going to have a hearing on the 26th, and they come back and say, you can't have that hearing if you have the Woolies on that, testify. So I agreed, hey, we're not going to have the Woolies. We'll just leave them off. Well, guess what? You're not going to have the hearing anyway. We're going to cancel that anyway. So we move it across.
Who's doing this?
That was the committee chairman. I think Garvin was that committee chairman. And she said it's just a conflict to have them on. This thing was getting too out of hand, is my understanding. Now, I didn't talk to her personally, but I know we got canceled. So we're going to have it across the street, and there was a big conflict. They were not supposed to have any meetings, and they put that on without getting everybody agreement. And so people didn't want to have the meeting. And so that was the conflict over there. I don't think it was the fact that it's heated. I think that group actually likes heated stuff. But I think the problem was just a scheduling conflict with them. So we decided, well, we'll just have it back at the Capitol, because we can, Bob, you can have a meeting. I mean, we're elected officials. We can get one of the rooms. But we were told that there in the Senate that we could not use the House staff, that we couldn't use where you have a live stream on that we couldn't live stream it. And again, here's what's funny, Bob. They're trying to get this meeting set up here in Senate. I called my assistant and said, hey, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to schedule having a room. I want a room, and just tell them it's a private meeting. And I said, I want a room over there as a backup plan. I just want to have a backup plan. Well, guess where we end up having a meeting? In the room I had as a backup plan, as a private meeting. But again, we didn't have anybody. We had to bring our own staff to have the, things to show on the computer. We didn't have it live streamed so people could watch that. Now, there was some videos out there where people got a hold to the videos, and we had some people doing their own personal videos, and we were able to get hold to that. But Bob, why is the Capitol so scared to talk about corruption in the court system? And Bob, I'm going to tell you what, we've had people come out. My understanding is that the DAC has sent out word that, hey, we want to fight. They're ready to fight. Bob, why, you know what I'm saying? If you're pointing out just hot spots in the state, I would think the DAC would go, great job. We want to find if we got any problems in
Who's DAC?
DAC is DA Council.
Okay.
And again, Bob, I mean, the DAs are your number one law enforcement group in the state. Who better to say we should police ourselves? We ought to police ourselves. Bob, you have the Bar Association that's supposed to police these judges and attorneys and all that. Judicial complaint supposed to police the judges. I gave the example of, we have a Judge Henderson that was having sex with one of his DAs and reportedly having sex with just about anybody who was breathing over there is what it sounds like. But the thing about it is he got caught, but that had been reported I don't know how many times, and nothing ever looked into it. Now he gets caught on film, dead banger. And what do we see in the grand jury? Nothing. What do we see in legislation? We try to pass a law saying a judge can't be having sex with the, practicing district attorney in the same court. And guess what? We couldn't even get that passed. We got it out of the House, got killed in the Senate. So, Bob, I mean, these are the kind of things that we're bringing out to the public. And guess who's being made the villain for bringing them out?
Who?
Us, me, Dana, Shane, the three people who are working on saying,
you and two senators.
Me and two senators. And man, I mean, in fact, we had a DA call one of those senators in, and he wrote me and said, oh boy, man, they chewed my hiney out, chewed my butt out. And he says he wants to see you And I laughed. I said, well, tell him I'd be happy to see him. I'll be glad to see him. But I'm gonna say this, Bob. I ain't going, oh, I gotta drive up there and see you. If he won't see me, he can come see me. Same distance, road runs two ways. He's want to see me, not me want to see him. So he can come see me anytime. But I got a big news bulletin. You think you're gonna walk in there and start chewing my butt on the fact of everything that we're saying is legit, verified. And again, I'm not saying it's 100% so. You got to have the entire case to look at. But what I'm saying is when you present these, all they do is say, you take our word for it. And again, here's what you hear. Well, do you want us to let a suspect go? Well, what is a suspect, Bob? Now, I mean, people need to ask themselves, what is a suspect? And people need to understand you're innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. You don't have to prove you're innocent. Okay, it's up to them to prove that you're guilty. Now, they've had in the Woolley case 6.5 years to do that. And here's the deal. Well, they still say, well, they're suspects. Well, the problem is when you have a suspect, the reason you have a suspect is because you have evidence that leads you. There has to be something leading you to believe that these people committed this heinous act. When you have zero evidence, when all of your evidence has been disputed and again by super quality people, the experts are saying our people who get a big fat F and are not even certified, got decertified. So you're going to listen to a group that got decertified, or are you going to listen to all these experts? The experts are on the Woolley side. And again, it's not one or two. There's several on a lot of these things. And so, Bob, that's what I'm saying. It is if all the evidence keeps coming in saying you're wrong, if all the evidence keeps suggesting, and Bob, in this case, not only does the evidence seem to suggest that the Woolies shouldn't be suspects, but the evidence seems to suggest that there's no crime committed, that this baby died of natural causes. The evidence seems to suggest that there's no sexual assault ever occurred. So again, if we have a baby who dies of natural causes with no sexual abuse, then guess what? This is a tragic accident and nobody should be charged. Nobody should be a suspect. And if all of this was done, and that is true, then the state of Oklahoma, that district attorney, they ought to be liable for what they put this family through. And that's what I'm saying is, again, put up or shut up. You know, quit saying, well, I have a duty because I suspect him. Well, who are you? Should the whole criminal justice system revolve around you because you think something without one scrap of evidence? Because you've got a medical examiner who don't even have a certificate saying and opposing what all the experts say? That's where I'm at. And Bob, here's where I'm at also. Any one of these cases, if a district attorney, if a sheriff, anybody involved in that investigative process can come forward and show me where I'm wrong, you know what I'll be happy to say?
You made a mistake.
I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I don't even think I have to say I've made a mistake because I've never got up and said the Woolies are innocent. What I've got up and said is I've looked at a whole lot of evidence. I have seen all the evidence on their side. As of today, I've not seen any evidence against them. As of today, I've not seen, and I'm sure the district attorney might have something. I'd love to see it if they've got something. But I know they couldn't get a grand jury. We had a judge. Bob, have you ever seen where a judge would come in and testify for people in that is astounding. That the family judge come in to our hearing and testified. And if you'll remember, Bob, what he said was he said he had been the family judge that actually put these kids in with the Woolies.
Mm-hmm.
And he said when he first heard this happen, that he was like, how did I miss this? I would have thought this is the best family in my court system. And he was upset because he was like, how did I miss this? And guess what? He started saying, hey, I started looking at the evidence. And he said, I found out the state doesn't have a case. And he said, the evidence is overwhelming that this didn't even occur, that all of this is fraudulent. And so again, when you have a judge very, very involved in these people's case, know the family, know the kids, very involved. They actually come to him, wanted a search warrant. He wouldn't give them based upon the fact they didn't have anything. I mean, this guy knows the case, and he came in and said, hey, it's a travesty what they've done to these people. And Bob, the thing about it is what we were able to do. I brought in a private investigator who talked about how many cases that he's seen with this similar type things going on with what the Woolies have experienced. I brought in this Daryl Doherty who talked about his case, that we see the same thing, the same patterns going on. I talked about that in Oklahoma County. I've got a case where we have absolute irrefutable evidence that a guy was set up for a false court date, was arrested when nobody else would have ever been arrested, and that they falsified. We got them dead banger, falsifying the paperwork for the court system, all of that. I've got
that was not with the current DA.
No. I really like the current DA.
This is something maybe 2 years. Is this about 2 years old?
Yeah, it's Prater. I mean, it's Prater's. I got another case involving Prater where an attorney actually stole the property from a family, and the judge, which I think I'd have to go back. I think this was Henderson done this. Henderson's not even in the case. He comes in and tells them to arrest the father in this case. So one of the family members. So Henderson's not even in it. Why is he invoking himself in it? And why is he saying go out and get a warrant? And it's kind of odd that this guy actually was Henderson's campaign. So this attorney helps Henderson get elected. And the next thing you know, Henderson's putting himself in the case and getting people arrested when there is no reason. And this attorney, obviously, in the paperwork that I've given, appears to, I mean, I'm talking really appears to be some illegal stuff, some fraud going on in this case. I gave all of them. I tried to get the OSBI. I tried to get the former AG. I've tried to get everybody to look at this case. Nobody did. We ended up filing a lawsuit. A former governor of Mississippi actually filed a lawsuit in behalf of some of these people that I put these cases together for. And again, they're suing the state of Oklahoma because of these situations where who do you go tell, Bob? You can't go tell the judicial complaints. You can't go talk to the bar. They don't do anything. In fact, I want to start looking at the bar and looking into a situation. I found another situation where a person reported one of our agencies of wrongdoing. Now they're after him. So again, Bob, when I look at that, my concern is, guess what? We have a court system that anytime somebody complains, guess what? They go after them. Or not every court system, Bob. I don't want to. It's kind of like I don't think every FBI. I'm working with the FBI on some stuff right now. I don't think all the FBI is corrupt. I don't think every sheriff in Oklahoma is corrupt. In fact, I think the overwhelming majority of sheriffs are great. I think the overwhelming judges are great, and again, the DAs. But at the end of the day, when you can't go after the ones who aren't great, and Bob, I think I said this at the hearing. How many people think that DHS doesn't have any problems? Not one person jumped up and said, oh, DHS is perfect. Guess what? Everybody in there going, well, they do. I mean, you can hear everybody around the room. Oh, absolutely, they got problems.
Yeah.
Okay, then why am I a villain for wanting to call out those problems, for wanting to say, let's fix the problems, let's identify the problems and fix them? Why am I a villain? And I asked, does anybody think that we have a perfect court system? Everything is great. And guess what? Why am I a villain for trying to point out the problems we have in our court system? Bob, it doesn't matter. You've been very active with me, and we called out stuff on DOC. And again, we've tried to verify everything. If we don't have it verified, we try to say, hey, this is what we've had reported to us. You know, all we can do is report what's been reported. But Bob, you know very well that we try to verify everything that gets told to us. And we don't tell half the stuff that gets told to us. But what's happened? Has the Department of Corrections come out and said that Bobby Cleveland is a great citizen? He's a humanitarian. He's trying to keep people from being locked in 2x2 showers. He's trying to make sure that people aren't killed and they receive proper medical treatment. He's trying to make sure we got plenty of correctional officers so that we have a safe environment. Old Bob's trying to make sure people don't get raped and covered up. They don't say that. Guess what they say? They say you're a liar. They say you're a troublemaker. They say you're bullied, Bob. Now that's funny. I think some of that may be true. You are a little bullyish.
Yeah.
My wife thinks me and you act about the same. She thinks it does.
Yeah, I bully DOC.
but you hear it, Bob, that's what I'm saying. When you try to stand up and you wonder why people don't want to stand up, you wonder why people are scared to stand up, and you're watching Donald Trump, and look at all the people around Donald Trump. We focus on Donald Trump because, man, he's the one. But what about all the people around Donald Trump? What about Flynn? I mean, you think Flynn didn't have his life ruined, and we now know and we see things that they did, that the FBI set him up, lied on him, and we see person after person. This Powell, that Sidney Powell pled guilty the other day. Now, people go back and look what she pled guilty to. It's a joke. If that's what you're having a grand jury on, you're a damn joke. And you have weaponized your system. You have weaponized our court system. Bob, if we don't have a fair and impartial court system, we've lost our country. And again, here's where I'm at. I can't help Washington, D.C. Pisses me off when I look at what's going on in Georgia, but I ain't in Georgia. I'm in the state of Oklahoma. And again, what we need to do as Oklahomans, we need to look out, call out, we need to stand together, and we need to demand that our court systems run appropriately. And again, why should, Bob, I mean, you would not believe, preacher, we had a special preacher come today to our church. And so he comes in, and we happened to arrive at the same time. He parking over there, and he walked around and got the door for his wife, and she got out. And I walked over there to say hi, and he goes, "Boy, Humphrey, you have been stirring up some trouble." He said, "You got them mad at you." And I laughed. This guy's down in Durant, Oklahoma, and generally the news, we don't get as much news down here. In Oklahoma City, I make the news a little bit, but down here, not as much. And for him to know it, Bob, I went last night to a pie auction. I don't know how many people in there said, "JJ, boy, you're stirring them up. You got them mad, you know." So all over the state of Oklahoma, people are knowing, man, Humphrey's got them mad, you know, over what? Bob, you said in that hearing the other day, did you hear anything that I said inappropriate?
No, sir.
You know, Bob, you remember where they showed that film where the girl that they were trying to get her in a suicide suit and they end up dragging her out of the
pulled her hair, pulled her back into the jail, her cell or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a good video. I mean, it didn't look good that the way they handled it and pulled her
Well,
hair.
that sheriff looked like he lost his temper. I don't know who it was, but
It didn't look good. But Bob, do you remember what I asked the witness there that was there to testify that she was present
no, I
when
don't.
that was done? You remember anything about that?
No.
Well, I turned around and I said, "Hey, I see that video and I know that's bad, but can I ask you this? Would you agree that working around mental health people,
Yeah,
suicidal people, is very, very difficult when people are trying to fight you and you're trying to restrain them? It is very difficult. And would you agree that the sheriff's department has an astronomically hard job? And Bob, I'm going to tell you another thing. I didn't say this that day, but I want to say it today. We did away with all our mental health facilities, and now guess who's had all those mental health cases dumped on them? And that would be the sheriff's department.
yeah.
And the jail is not the place to deal with people who have mental health problems. And so we're short staffed in our jails. We're short staffed at our correctional facilities. And guess where all of these mental health people have landed up and ended up? In jail and prison, because we don't have an adequate mental health facility.
Well, we had adequate mental health facilities there for years, but then they come up and said, well, we do not need to spend money on this any longer because we got so many new medicines that can solve a lot of these issues. So we don't need to have these. They shut them down using that.
Yeah, they closed them, Bob. That's a bad mistake. We need to open some facilities, or we need to take some of our prisons and designate them mental health facilities so that we don't have mental health people. And Bob, the thing about it is we need to have the doctors, psychologists, and the right people at these facilities. So if you have 23, 26 facilities scattered out, you can't have mental health people, experts, and all of that. So let's pick one or two prisons. Let's designate them to be mental health facilities. Let's get the type of treatment that we need at those facilities, and let's deal with the people who have mental health problems.
We don't have the facilities, enough facilities to do that. If we start doing that, there's probably 65% of our inmates have a mental problem.
Well, Bob, and I agree, but some of them have treatable mental health issues that you don't. I mean, there are people who can be outpatient, and there's people who can be treated. A lot of people say I have mental health issues. You know what I'm saying? I
can understand that.
Yeah, some say that. But the thing about it is, not everybody needs an inpatient mental health treatment. But you have a lot of people who absolutely 100% do, and we need to have a place to go with them.
I understand that we need to have a place to go with it, but I don't think that it should be the prison system.
Well, I'd say take a couple of prison system and make them mental health facilities where they're not part of, or if they are part of that prison system, where they're a mental health facility, and that they're treated differently away from other inmates. But here's what's funny, Bob. Me and you both talk about prisons all the time, and me and you are disagreeing a little bit, not a whole lot. I mean, we're saying kind of the same thing, but it's okay. It's all right if you're wrong and I'm right. I'm okay with that, Bob.
Right.
But here's the deal. Why can't we have a conversation? And me and you can have a conversation. We could open the conversation to other people. And yet, when I try to have a conversation on what are the problems in our court system, guess what? You're a villain. You're a villain for even bringing it up. You're not going to have that hearing. We're going to shut that down. Nope, we're not going to have that. Nope, we're not going to let you live stream it. Nope, we're not going to let you have any of the staff. Oh, by the way, we're just not letting you have it. And you got to go to your backup plan C, where you're going to go in and make sure, hey, I got a room, and it's just for a private hearing room, a private meeting room is what I listed it in. And again, the House might have let me have that hearing. I don't know. I wasn't going to ask. I just said, I want a private room for a private meeting. Now, Bob, why should we have to do that? Just like what we're having a discussion on DOC. And again, when me and you bring up DOC, a lot of people think, oh, Bob and JJ ran right out to the media and they put everything in the media and man, they just get this stirred up and going. Bob, how many times, and you know this for fact, you know it, you've watched me do it, you know, whether it be this rape case, guess what? I talked to them for months about that. I put together a packet for them and gave it to them.
And they denied that it was happening.
And they denied. And whether I've got an embezzlement case that I sent this whole embezzlement case over, all the evidence. You know what they told the person who is being extorted, not embezzlement, an extortion case. You want me to tell you what they told the mother who's been threatened, daughter threatened, lives threatened?
Tell me.
They said J.J. Humphrey's a troublemaker. And they didn't look into the case. Bob, this is a case you can fall off a log. If you can fall off a log, you can work this case right here. And here's
but they don't want to be transparent. They do everything they can to
be
transparent.
And here's
I have received more emails and calls from inmates' family of what was going on inside the prison and what they said than I've ever had the last 6 months. I used to never get anybody from inmate, contacting me. And now it's a major deal. Everybody, not everybody, but most of the people that's got somebody in some of the prisons worry about their safety, whether they're safe there or not. They don't know if they're, and then DOC, someone gets stabbed. DOCs didn't come out with who did it and who did it, whether it's an inmate or who it was. They don't release the information.
Bob, I just found out they had a killing, inmate on inmate killing at Lawton Correctional Center. You know how I found that out?
How?
Is I subscribed to the Lawton paper. So I laugh. People, oh, JJ. No, listen, I read a couple of, I try to stay up on what's going on in the state. And again, here I am, chairman of corrections. And you know how I'm hearing about deaths in the prison? It's through the paper. And again, that's a pretty sad fact. But the problem is, Bob, is that, again, we've tried to tell. I sent this extortion case over quite a while ago. And guess what? The lady was sent home, nothing done. She's still being threatened. She's still being extorted. All because they say J.J. Humphrey's a troublemaker. Well, why am I a troublemaker? If I gave them the book beforehand, I gave them all the evidence, and we've supplied a buku of evidence since then. Why am I a troublemaker if I write you and say, hey, you're locking people in this 2x2 cell, not good, and you write me back and say, not happening, and then boom, you do an investigation. Never report one time. Never tell me, hey, this is what we found out. But what they found out ain't no shock, Bob. It ain't no shock because you ain't got to be a prophet to prophesy what they're going to find out. And what they're going to find out is, oh, it wasn't no big deal. See, it kind of happened, but not like y'all said it did. People were only left in there up to 3 days. Only 3 days.
Yeah, I think the findings was there were some that's in there as long as 9 days.
Yeah, we got reports 9 days. And again, it was only transferring people. I got reports that I know they received that said it was for punishment. How did they come to the conclusion when their own employees were ridiculed and told leave them in there, this is for punishment? How did they come to that conclusion when I know they have those reports? And if they say they don't, they're lying.
It still goes back to transparency. They don't want to let it out. They want to act like that the prison system is all good. Everything's fine. And it's
see,
not.
That's what I don't get, Bob. Why not just say, yeah, we got some bad parts in our system. Thank y'all for telling us, and we're going to go fix that. How about that? You'd look like a superstar. You'd look like a champ instead of covering it up The cover up's worse than the crime. We see it time after time, whether it's DHS, whether it's DOC. I got several other agencies that we're going to be looking into, and we are looking into the court system. And guess what? Same problem. Only here's the thing: anybody who has the audacity, Bob. I don't know if you remember me asking you remember the private investigator come up and testified, and I wanted everybody to know, hey, full disclosure, I've given him quite a few cases. We've worked together. So I want people to understand, hey, we work together and we have, cases shared. And so, yes, we have a friendship and we have a business relationship. But I asked him, I said, would it be surprising to you to find out that I've went and obtained 2 bondsmen to get me out of jail in case I'm thrown in jail? Would that surprise you? And he laughed. He goes, not a bit. And I think he even said, and I don't blame you one bit, or that was wise to do. Bob, people think I'm crazy, but I literally have got 2 bondsmen because I figure they're going to come after me. And I can't for the life of me think of what they can get me on. It ain't going to be campaign finance. If they do, it's a lie. It ain't going to be for breaking the law unless they want to get me for speeding a little bit. I might do that. Bob, and it is hard to follow the game laws. Game laws are hard to follow. You know what I'm saying? So, but it won't be for any major crime. But the thing about it is, I've felt necessary to go out and talk to 2 bondsmen and have them ready because I believe that I'm making the wrong people mad, and I believe they'll come after me. And Bob, here's what's even more mind-boggling is that we've had death penalty cases. And I brought up the case that me and you were working on that we went and met with the DA on the other day, David Fleener. And, here's another case, an autopsy case. The person doing the autopsy, and Bob, you back me up on this and tell me if I'm right. The other day, we had a doctor presenting this case. And me and Bob know all about the case, but me and Bob were, in fact, I think I took a phone call 2 or 3 times and was off to the side. This doctor, well-known doctor's presenting the case, and he comes up to who the medical examiner is, and this DA already knows who that medical examiner is because she's been involved in several cases where there have been problems. And again, this medical examiner totally misses it. We have a guy in prison based on that medical examiner's testimony. He's been in prison over 20 years. She said
26.
Wherever that, what's that?
26 years.
26 years. And that medical examiner said wherever he stabbed that person would have dropped right there. They found a guy out in the street. So based on her testimony, he had to chase him out of his house and kill him in the street. When what all the evidence suggests is no, the guy broke into his house. Now get this, broke into his house. He defended himself, stabbed the guy in his house. So he had a knife out there and he stabbed the guy in his house. The guy runs out of the house and dies in the street. According to the medical examiner, she testifies, no, he had to chase him down the street and kill him in the street. Well, if you had to chase somebody out of your house and kill them down the street, then that's going to be murder. Once they leave your house, you're safe. You're no longer in fear of your life. And that's what they found. But if you're in your house fighting for your life, guess what? That's called self-defense. You wouldn't even be in prison. So based on this testimony of the medical examiner, guess what? He goes to prison 26 years. This doctor looks
life without parole.
Yep. The doctor, which is, can I get a witness, Bob? This is a well-known great doctor.
Right.
And so the doctor looks at the case. He decides to get one of the best-known medical examiners in the United States to look at the case. They both agree that the medical examiner here in Oklahoma was wrong. They go get another medical examiner And now the medical examiner who testifies has recanted and said, nope, I'm wrong. So here you got 4 medical examiners, even the one who gave the false testimony, saying she was wrong. 9 of the jurors said the whole reason they convicted the guy is based on that person's testimony. But now we can't get it in front of a court to get justice, to get it overturned or get it.
And they had a witness, the scene that happened outside, that testified that he did not have a knife. And this is what that officer was trying to say was, well, he surmises that he did this. He had it in his mind to go over there and kill him.
Well, and that's what happened in the Woolley case. You have an officer that goes there and he makes up his mind, I'm going to a murder. I'm going to investigate a murder. It was murder. And he goes to start putting that narrative out. And then you have a medical examiner who doesn't go by the evidence presented, but they come back and say sexual assault, murder, when there's absolutely no medical evidence. In fact, quite the contrary. So all the medical experts come in and say, nope. And that's what's happened in this case. Here's medical experts, people who are well knowledgeable in this and are known as world experts. And they come in and say, absolutely wrong. And we can't do anything. And in the Wooley's case, they've had their kid taken. They've been to jail. They've been accused of all kinds of stuff, lost their employment, had to move. I mean, this is horrific stuff that you're being accused of with no medical evidence, no reason to back it up. And if they got it, let's see it. Pull it out.
Representative Humphrey, we need to quit.
Bob, I could
run out of time.
We could go on with many cases all day. We got to look at the court system. So,
no question about it.
Yep. Hey, we're gonna wrap it up, guys. It's not just Donald Trump that we need to be looking at. We are not in charge of the entire criminal system. We are in charge of the Oklahoma system. I just want to get you fired up, get you. Hey, if we're gonna save our country, it's we, the people, who are going to save it. We got to demand that our court systems get right. We got to demand these agencies get right, and we got to take our system back. So appreciate every one of you. Bob, thanks for being on here.
Thank you.